now from Hollywood, California, the horror capital of the world, the Boulet Brothers, creatures of the night.
Welcome back, Uglies, to the newest episode of the Boulet Brothers Post-Mortem for Season 666, Episode 9 on Creatures of the Night. All three of us are gathered here around the coffin table to discuss the ninth and final challenge, the ninth ring of hell in this competition.
I wish I was at the coffin table. It will not fit through the office door.
Oh my God.
I thought about it, like between seasons, we should bring it in and have it be our podcast table.
Surely there's a way. I mean, I'm thinking about the dimensions of the coffin table, and there ain't no way.
Right, because if you turn it on its side, it's too tall to go through the door.
We got to disassemble her and then bring her back in.
We
Full
should bring a new
Frankenhooker.
one. Like, build one just for the podcast.
I like that.
Yeah. For our video podcast.
Ooh, the long-awaited,
It's coming.
much anticipated.
It's coming.
I used to cringe when we talked about that because I'm like, oh my God, it's coming. And now you can say it and I'm like, sure, Jan.
It's going to happen.
Dad is coming back with the cigarettes. They just don't have them at the corner store.
So last week we talked a little bit about politics, and the audience was very into that. So I don't know why they want us to be the new CNN morning news team, but I like it.
I know why. Mama, there is no better way to get your news from the Queens of Darkness and their Igor around the coffin table. Yeah. Grab your black coffee and let's get into it.
I just kind of want to reiterate, as queer people, we have faced adversity pretty much our whole lives. And so this is what we do. Like, in moments of darkness, we have to come together and support each other and show that kind of solidarity and love, right? Because there's a lot of hate getting thrown our way. That being said, one particularly annoying comment was brought to my attention, and I just have to say this. I hate when people say do better. Like, do better to me sounds so condescending and shitty. And how do you expect someone to react to that? It's like disrespectful. And someone was saying like do better, in terms of like talking about politics. That shouldn't be in the mouths of any entertainers. Why do we have to know what you voted for? And I'm saying this, sweetie, listen up. I can and will talk about whatever I think is important to the people I love and support. And if that makes you uncomfortable, fuck off a little bit and just stop listening to the show. And P.S., we never talked specifically about who we were voting for. We just talked about the darkness of the election.
Glonk. Close the coffin door. I love that. So well said. 100%.
Thank you.
You did better.
Fuck you, bitch.
I have two things to add. One, I remember when someone said do better to you.
Oh my God. I have been sitting here. I'm like, don't mention do better. Don't mention do better. And I will never forget.
It's triggering. And there's someone else that said it to me too. And I was like, even to this day, it's been a couple years. I'm like, you bitch.
How dare you? How dare you?
Well, especially who it's coming from.
I know.
Like, for you to say anybody should do better is insanity.
Like, worm, silence.
The two different people. I'm like, do better. I hate that word. I hate it so much. I feel the exact same way. I'm like, it is so reductive. It doesn't help. It doesn't do anything. It's such a weird, like, catch-all slap in the face kind of thing. I'm like, ugh.
That language to me is like literally a contributor to how I think Trump got reelected. Because people don't want to get yelled at. They don't want to get read over these micro things and picked apart. And, it's like nobody wants to get yelled at.
Totally.
Yeah, we've been talking about that since season 2.
Yeah.
And I remember people having things to say about our discourse about Trump being elected, because his first term was back then, right at season 2. We were filming the finale and we said some stuff like, we need to show solidarity. Our voices need to be unified. And if we can't communicate with people across the aisle, that means we all live in a bubble. And then you only get to know what they really think when they secretly, in the privacy of their little voting booth, they cast the vote for the despot, like the literal villain. And you're like, oh my God, how did this happen? And I'm like, well, if you think about it, if you're closing your ears and your eyes to what other people are thinking and saying, then yeah, get ready for a lot of surprises because it's shitty.
On this note, I feel like this election to me was one of the times where I fully realized, and I know this for a fact, but I realized I was like, oh, social media is an echo chamber. Because when you look at social media, you're like, oh, I know exactly what's going to happen. Like, we are all, yes, it's happening. Like, yes, rallies, Kamala, yes. And then, surprise, actually, it's not unified. Like, there's so much out there. And I think people need to get off of that or just like engage with the rest of the world. Sometimes I'm like, everyone needs to touch grass.
That was sort of my thought with all this too, is that to me, it's all about the media and social media and the news. Like, I don't think people understand that when you watch CNN or you read the New York Times or whatever, these are businesses that exist to make money. Their goal is to make a profit. So for them, they want to make us the most pissed off at each other. They want to make us clicking the clickbait, the stuff that we want to read. And you know, the way all these algorithms work now, they can tell what you like and what you want to see, and they will keep feeding you just that message. It is a total echo chamber. And I think it's destructive for our society. And I think the news is just as complicit with Trump getting elected as anyone else is.
I agree.
They normalized everything.
And it's important to have outlets like this one and others where people can talk about their perspectives outside of like media so that you can see yourself in other people, because otherwise you're just getting spoon-fed what you want to hear.
Yeah. I thought about that with Blue Sky. I know you joined it. We joined it recently. I like it. It seems lighter, right?
Yeah.
However, you know, here we are. We're all going to go into another layer of echo chamber.
Also, someone on the way here was like, at DeVogler, why don't you follow the Boulets on Blue Sky? I'm like, we have both had these accounts for 4 days.
Seconds.
I was like, well, thank you. I didn't even know they were here. So click follow. I'm like, I appreciate it. Thank you for letting me know, Diva. But also, holy shit, mama.
I thought about it too, because I was like, well, should I? Because I can't find everybody. I don't have like hours to search everybody. Should I follow everybody at once, or can I just do a couple at a time? And I just decided I don't give a hell what anybody thinks.
I don't give a hell.
I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks. I don't want to get demonetized.
Very that.
Yeah, so I don't know. The last thing I want to talk about, because it's kind of funny, to me, it's sad, but it's funny, is these cabinet nominations.
Oh my God.
Because I'm like, you're already seeing it. There's not, they didn't even wait a minute to be like, this is going to be the most asinine bozo clown administration you've ever seen in your life. Starting with today, the one that I saw that's going to be the Secretary of Education.
Oh, girl.
Did you see the video?
WWE with her getting pile drive?
Yeah, totally. It's Linda McMahon with a steel chair here to destroy the Department of Education. Like, great.
I can't believe. I mean, it's like you have to be doing it on purpose, because then Matt Gaetz, Attorney General, what? Like, what's happening? Who's under an ethics investigation
for sex trafficking?
Dr. Oz for Department of Health and Human Services.
It's like America is entering its stupidity era for real.
Oh yeah, like we're fully in it. Like, just buckle up, everybody.
And then just top it off with RFK and his his all of his bullshit and his entire perspective belongs nowhere near anything that can affect other people.
The one that I think is really went under the radar but is worth noting is Brendan Carr, who's going to be the head of the FCC. And just for people that don't know, Federal Communications Commission regulates interstate and international communications by radio, television, wire, satellite, and cable in all 50 states. So this is the guy that wrote the final chapter of Project 2025. He was heavily involved in it, and now he is going to be in control of our airwaves. So for all you listening, let's hope at this time next year you will still be able to hear us, because I have a feeling you might not.
Girl.
We're going to have to make a renegade underground podcast station.
Does that podcast station have like direct LAN Wi-Fi communications? So we can
we'll go to Bermuda Triangle. We'll live somewhere in there.
Cool. They're about to release World of Warcraft Classic. So I'm ready.
Actually, I don't know if we can go there, because it might, the fallout from the nuclear war we're about to have might have already poured over that area.
Well, got it. Oops.
If the new prospective director intelligence, Miss Tulsi Gabbard, has her way, the Russians will be bombing us by the end of next year.
They don't have to bomb us. She's just going to go give them the keys to every file in the United States government. It's wild. A joke. It's ridiculous. Such a joke. But I do want to tell people at home, this all sounds ridiculous, and it is sad. But I want to encourage people not to be dismayed, because this happens. This is not the worst thing our country has ever faced. I don't think our generation or the last 3 generations have faced anything like, World War II, World War I. That was crazy. And so I do think we can overcome this time. I do think it's scary and it's ridiculous, but you have to sort of make sure that your voices are heard, build your community. I'm going to say that again, build your community. Like, stop the fucking witch hunts and actually bring people to your team, because majority rules. Yep. And that's what we need if we want to get anything progressive passed at all. That is enough for this episode of CNN's Coffin Table News Hour.
Wait, Creatures of the Night News, CNN.
Oh.
Hey.
Okay. Into it.
Okay.
Doot. And on that note, we're going to be taking our first break, and we will be right back.
All right, we're back. For those of you that are still listening, which I would imagine probably been cut in about half at this point.
Yeah, we probably lost 5,000 listeners.
I mean, if the popular vote's anything to gauge it by, I'm like, it's about like 51%.
You all asked for it. That's all I'm going to say.
Pull the string, Chucky. Let's go.
Let's get into this episode of the Boulet Brothers Dragula, Season 6, Episode 9.
Antie's back.
Yay.
They were all trying to slice and dice who they thought and hoped would be coming back. But Antie comes back in the room in full Antie power, right? Antie is such a complex character to me. But one of my favorite aspects of her is her fearlessness to go totally over the top and camper.
Yes. I love it. I love a Dragula competitor who comes into the lab hot and ready, just with a big attitude. It's like Zavaleta vibes. And even I think Louisiana Purchase at one point, I'm trying to remember what it was she said.
It was Pigeon. It was Pigeons Diva or something like that.
It was Pigeons, baby.
So, okay, just to talk about the freezer extermination, they would not give up.
Oh my God.
They would not give up. The whole crew was like, we have to stop this. And I'm like, we will stop it when somebody gives up.
Totally.
And they just wouldn't. And it just kept going on forever. We watched it with a group of people the other night, and they were just like,
this is so dangerous. Oh my God, this is so scary. Holy shit.
Yeah.
That is dangerous. Oh my God. And I think it was probably pretty horrible, but maybe a little bit of what Antie deserved, because I agree with what everyone was saying a few episodes ago, where the lip sync to stay in the competition, I'd say, is high tension, maybe high anxiety.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's quite the same as swimming with sharks or jumping out of a plane or facing that level. But now going into this torture chamber, I think proves that she can do both.
Yeah, absolutely. And also wear a really magnificent breastplate in the process. I love the flashbacks where I'm like, this entire window is just boobs. Fantastic, Antie.
Okay, when I was watching it, I could not stop laughing because she was shaking. She'd be like, ah, like that. And her tits were just shaking in the glass. It was so hysterical.
I love drag.
Yeah, I know. So we learned that this week's challenge is the Dead by Daylight challenge, which everyone has been waiting for quite a while.
A serve.
Yeah. So, we talked last time about not doing a reunion. And part of that was because we did not want to do a top 4 again. We didn't. And so we said, if we give a 9th challenge, then we can't. We will have to do a top 3. We will definitely eliminate somebody. And also, I thought it was such a spectacular, cool prize. To me, I'm like, that is such an amazing prize. I'm like, that trumps the possibility of a reunion this year, I think.
I'll say as a viewer, there are reunions that I love. Like there are absolutely Last Suppers where I'm like, wow, this is pinnacle television. This season, I'm really happy that we got more drag. This cast is incredible on stage and also in the lab, but getting to see more drag from them, I'm taking it as a boon.
Good.
Same.
Yeah, that was the other thing is I thought everyone's always like, oh, we want to see more drag. I'm like, here's a whole new episode of drag, and it's good drag too.
So you're not only going to be able to see the Boulets as characters in Dead by Daylight, you will have a skin of the winner of this challenge also in game. I mean, the crossover is very real, and I love it because it just proves the gays and the queers love horror, and that includes video games.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I love that I know what skin y'all are going to be, but I cannot imagine who the winner of this episode is going to be a skin for.
So I think we're going to be a killer, and I think you're going to be able to wear the winner's outfit as a survivor, I think.
Oh,
but I'm not
that's
positive.
cool. Okay, I could see that working as more sort of like costume outfit, kind of like customizable elements.
Yeah, for
Okay,
us,
that's
it's going to be us as killers with the claws and all that stuff.
I love it. It's such a gag.
What I also love is that privately, the three of us are going to start our own little posse of final girls and play Dead by Daylight together. I can't wait.
I'm going to get good. I promise. I'm not going to be the squeaky wheel who is trying to turn the motor on and is just banging around. Well, I might do a little banging around, but I'm going to
try. I promise you that. But I get scared. I'm so ready to get scared.
I have never played as a survivor, not once.
Really?
I've only played as a killer. Yeah. And it's frustrating.
What, playing as the killer?
Yes. Because these little kids know all these tricks now.
Totally.
They've been playing for like a lot longer than me. And I'm like,
For those of
time to do that.
For those of you out there who just love and adore Jack Morta going off completely, there's nothing quite as satisfying as being in the same room when Drac is playing the killer in a Dead by Daylight and the kids are throwing pallets and driving Drac up the wall.
Because I'm like, if I slam you on a spike through your chest, you should be dead. That's it. You should be dead. You can't sit there for 10 minutes and then someone come unhook you, which, by the way, they couldn't even lift you off of it in the first place, but that's a whole different thing.
Mama.
No, and I love the game. I think it's so fun. It is scary. I love all the different skins and costumes and charms and all that stuff. I think it's really fun.
So, Drac, you said one of my favorite things of the episode during this segment of the show, during the challenge issuing, and you said, and that person will forever be known as Salty Sent Home Sally, right?
Yes.
Okay, but here's the question. They all did the Tarantula challenges, and we'll get there. But who from the past do you think earned the title of Salty Sent Home Sally?
I know what the first one that comes to mind. I'm like, do we want to say?
I know. I don't think so, right?
Okay, we won't do that.
So let's talk about the Tarantula.
Yeah, speaking of scary.
Nobody got bit. I was so disappointed.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought there were so many in there. I thought at least one of them would get bit.
I have never owned a Tarantula. I do not know how they be, but I did think that Antie was giving like fear mongering a little. I was like, girl, like, I mean, I have friends who own tarantulas and they're like, yeah, you don't handle that one. Like that one's mean. But like, you know, listen, America's Next Top Model had a challenge. They put them on their faces. It's not like you cannot handle them. Right. And Angie's over here like, they spit acid venom out of their asshole and then they bite you from the Jedi mind trick you to death. I was like, whoa.
That's all it was. The gag, the force multiplier for me was, okay, yes, it's something to put your hands around tarantulas, but now look at them. There's like 10 in there, blindfold. I was like, oh, that's a whole nother level.
Whoever decided on the moss inside the terrarium, a great touch. Because that was when I think it was gray matter starts feeling around on the moss. And I was like, ooh, I bet you that is in your mind like mega tarantula? Like, okay.
Yeah. I don't know. I thought it was very scary and a new idea.
Yeah.
Also, just so people at home know, nothing bad happened to the tarantulas. In fact, they became pets of the crew who still have them.
That's so
love them.
cool.
Yeah. So they got good homes after
when
they
I
didn't bite our cast.
Bad girls, but
I would have kept it if it
they
didn't.
can learn.
If one of them had bit somebody, I would have kept that one, but it didn't. So.
when I came to set the day of the tarantula challenge and they were prepping them, I went upstairs and I walked into the room and I was like, oh my God, because there's like a tank of tarantulas. And they're like, hey, Swan, do you want to handle one? And I was like, no,
I'm good.
Like, wait, yes. Yeah,
Did you?
Yeah, I did.
Oh,
so I let it
cool.
kind of crawl on my arm and hand. And it's freaky though. If you have any level of arachnophobia or bugs bother you, because it's soft and fuzzy and you're like, oh, this is nice. And then it like skitters really fast, like wrapping around your limb and then you can't see it anymore. And that's when shit gets weird.
How
Like a
heavy are
puppy.
they?
Very light.
Oh, really?
Yeah, very light.
So they're like an owl.
Oh.
Owls look like they'd be big and heavy, but they're not.
Did you see that picture that's been circulating recently of how baby owls sleep face down?
No.
Yeah, they just fully like plank on the ground. Like,
Really?
Yeah, because they're something about like their bones aren't strong enough or whatever. They can't keep themselves upright to sleep, so they just like glonk face down.
That's kind of cute.
I love owls.
I used to want an owl so bad when I was young.
Oh,
I really did.
mystical.
I would just literally sit there and design like, this is what the room I'm going to transform into.
Oh.
Like a night terrarium that you can walk through, right? With like branches and moss and everything. Like a soundscape, crickets, the whole like light.
You deserve that.
No,
You do. I encourage you
deserve
to
this.
make that
Oh
room,
my
but
God, thank
you've
you.
got to seal. You've got to seal the doors. I don't want any critters coming out, and that is one of my biggest fears. I had a friend when I was
Really?
younger that owned this like 300-year-old farmhouse, right? And the house was so old that the foundation was just a hole. Like the basement was just like a hole in the ground.
Oh no.
It was big and old. And I remember it got really cold one year and there was like 100 snakes came up from the floor
Oh my God.
and were all in her house, in their beds, living room, everywhere.
Oh my God.
It was like a horror movie. Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't know. That's all that I've always been like, I need all doors and windows to be completely sealed.
It's giving the craft. You
Yeah.
remember that scene?
Oh,
for sure.
yeah, amazing.
So this fright.
Ooh, a little
this fright feat, a little mirroring of what happened to me during Deliberation. This fright feat was a qualifier, and everyone qualified. No one was sent home as salty sent home Sally.
Wait, I feel like every season now has to have the Exorcister and the SSS, the triple S.
But they will never participate.
They couldn't handle it. They
If there's
couldn't
ever
handle
a
it.
salty sent home Sally, they do not participate.
Okay, but wait, check this out. So it's the Exorcister obviously comes back next season, and or at least in this current iteration, we know what's going to happen. The Triple S doesn't know that the Triple S until episode 1 of the Titan season that they come back. And it's like, by the way, you are the Triple S.
my
and you are up for
God.
extermination.
We're going to be selling these 3 S's into all of your looks right on the logo.
I want to say, on a positive note, there was a salty sent home Sally from season 5 who came around and became unsalty and apologized and was really nice and cool.
Really?
Yeah, but I'm not
Very
gonna say who it was.
mature. Maybe we were just talking about her this morning.
Oh.
And maybe the most mature that thing that anyone has ever done in relation to the show.
Oh my God.
But she was sure to still, she said that to us, but she was still sure to be a little nasty to production. So I was
course.
like, oh, good. She still got some spunk
You
in her.
have to be. Yeah, listen,
She can still spit some poison, just not at us.
taking accountability for your actions and your own feelings.
It was wild.
No.
I love it.
I wish I could say the same thing about Salty Sent Home Sally's coming around, because there's one from season 4 and there's definitely one from Titans, and I think
There's
you know
like one from,
we're,
like, every
we're never
season.
going to see it.
Yeah.
Oh well.
I don't understand it, right? I'm going to go off on it for a second because
Do
I'm like,
it.
if you sign up for a show like this, don't you logically think
No.
there is a chance every episode that I will go home, like the dozens of people before me? You know, like, I don't get why, it's like, as far as you were able to go, appreciate that exposure and that you had the opportunity and move on. I don't understand why people get so pissed off about it.
It's giving insecure. It's giving jealous.
Maybe that's what it is. Maybe people take it personally, when it's absolutely not personal.
Well, Drac, I know you, very well, and I know that you think about all the potential outcomes way before you make any move in your life. So when you look at someone, you're like, did you not think that this could possibly happen? Like, one of 2 things happen: you win or you go home. You didn't think about the idea of maybe going home and how you might handle that.
I think some people don't, is the thing.
Yeah.
Like, they're just like, I'm going to win.
I didn't realize about myself until recently. I was talking to someone else and they were like, you think ahead and then you think of every possible outcome in every situation. It's a lot of thinking.
Yes, and that has gotten this team, every iteration of this team, through so many things. Like that level of, it's not even prescience, is that the word? Like fortune telling? Because that's Swan. Like Swan got the magic crystal ball. Drac has the battle board. And those two things together, I'm like, the leaders of this team, if there is a stone to unturn, she will be unturned.
The three of us together are
truly the triad, the dark triad.
Give us an hour, an afternoon, and we'll be like, we're never leaving the house again because this could happen.
Get ready. And also, that bitch is getting a phone call.
Totally. All right, so let's move on to creative.
Yes, there's a cool conversation that happens here, and we see Antie and Yuri connect in a way that they haven't yet this season, and we learn a little bit more about Yuri's heritage. It's actually really interesting.
Yeah, I really like that conversation, and this goes back to, I think it was Antie and Gray Matter, where I genuinely was like, wow, I really like this. And again, this is a moment that I really love. I do feel like in hindsight, when I think about Yuri, I'm like, oh, I love Yuri. Yuri's a chatty Kathy. I love Yuri. And then I think about it, I'm like, I don't actually know that bitch said a whole lot. So it was cool to see her open up, especially to Antie after they had this moment at the very beginning, which...
Even though the behavior that they have at the end of the episode completely contradicts all of this, but it is nice to see them connect for like a hot minute.
Families fight. Sisters fight.
They do. Okay, so let's talk about maybe one of the most significant things of this episode, which is our... Nosferatu bat form magic looks. Oh,
sister,
my
girlfriend.
Favorite maybe of the season.
You look incredible. I literally texted both Drac and Swan. I was just like, bitch, these Nosferatu creature sissies are so cool. Like, I love it.
So that is our true form. That is now in the canon of the show. That's why Jaharia stumbled upon Swan and saw,
and it was a very inopportune moment.
So it was cool. So. First of all, Sig and Kelton did amazing work. They did all the special effects on a set day, and it was so. It took hours. It took like 4 hours to do, maybe more. But I was so much more comfortable than I normally am. I mean, 100 times more
the most comfortable maybe of the whole season.
And you would have appreciated this. I came in to the judgment, and every time when I sit down at the judges table, I'm like, could you please turn that light a little to bring that light down, bring that one to the. I have to do it every day.
Yep.
And this day I was like, Carissa, do whatever you want.
Go nuts.
I was like, she was like, I'm gonna make flame effects on you. I was like, go crazy, have a blast. Everyone take the day off.
I loved it. I really love that y'all went in for this deliberation and judgment with the lighting. It's cool. The show is cool.
It was fun.
Thank you.
I would love to do more of that next year. We'll see.
Do it.
The judges were cool too. Like meeting Matthew Cote was awesome because you could literally feel not only his admiration for the world of Dead by Daylight, which he kind of heads, but he knew the show inside and out. And we can just see clearly the connection between like the queer world, the horror world. It belongs together in so many ways. And it was kind of an honor to have him there.
He's so smart too. That guy, he knows the scene. He knows the game. Like he's brilliant, I think.
And someone else who's brilliant, as reflected in her look, is the current reigning drag super monster, Neo Hulu. Like, when she came around the corner and I saw the look, I'm like, wow. I think maybe we can post it. I have a little BTS picture, which I tend not to do, but I was like, mother-daughter moment. Yes, because we both look crazy. And I was like the Nosferatu, and she's like that silver alien, and we're like, looking cute. It was pretty fun.
Cool.
Yeah.
An amazing judges panel. Like, truly, y'all looked great. I thought that the comments from the judges as well were definitely, it's interesting. They were definitely complimentary, which I think at this stage in the game is a little deserved.
Yeah.
It's been, I mean, it is a long, hard, painful, and sadistic road, just as y'all. And I think that it's at this point, it's unless someone really messes up, it's like no one needs to get their ass beat in the judgment at this point.
Yeah.
And so I thought that the judging was complimentary, but I did clock that one comment from Matthew Cote, and I was like, "Oop, that's my sister."
What? Which?
It's about Antie's wingspan. Because the second that Antie came out, I was like, "This is cool. This is giving fantasy. This is giving would have to sidestep shuffle down all the hallways and would have to like fold the wings in to get through. And then Matthew Cote was like, in the context of the game, this outfit doesn't actually work. And I was like, oop, clocked.
But correct. How did your judging measure up to the judging on this episode?
My judging was pretty accurate. I think this one is, again, I'm going to use this. It's a little bit of a funny episode to say, how did my judgment go? I did clock the winner, so I was good on that one. And honestly, for me, there was one movement that Asia did in the floor show where I was like, oh, that's the winner. I did think that Yuri looked really cool.
She did look cool.
She did look cool.
Yeah, I thought Yuri looked super cool, and I could see that as a killer in Dead by Daylight. It's kind of like, you know, mermaid bride wraith kind of character with these huge claws. You just kind of see that in the world of Dead by Daylight. So I got the winner. I was a little not sure about the positioning of Antie and Yuri, but I understand.
What did you think about Grey Matter's BBL?
I'm just gonna stamp it. I'm like, sometimes when you got to put the tinfoil hat on when you're made, and you got to live the conspiracy. And I'm like, Grey Matter, I know what you're doing. You're trying.
You know what to do.
You're telegraphing. I'm like, you're a freak. You're a nasty little freak with your tits out and your BBL, your Seder dong. I'm like, you can't fool me, Filth Queen.
For real. And so what did you think about this embodiment of the game? What we set up the gauntlet to run through and collect blood points and just...
Oh, you mean the extermination? Yeah. What did you think of that? Because we were all... You know what it's like to be on episode 9, extermination, which we don't even normally do. Just insanity. So what did it come off like to you?
In the politest way... Totally unhinged, like 100%. Because the first thing that tipped me off to, oh, it's that point in the season, is Drac, you're like, you're going to be playing our game as the killers, where you're survivors, and the survivors are shooting you with paintball guns, and there are coffins, and they're blood ones. I'm like, okay. But I love it, like not being facetious at all. I love this. I love the gamification. Like I love when there are exterminations that are sort of competitive, but there's also a level of chaos and fun. It's like last season when the Fright feat was going to a rage room. It's been a long season. Don't we deserve to have some fun? Shouldn't the competitors get shot with some paintball guns? Isn't that nice?
Let it all out. I'll be honest about this episode. I really took a backseat to this extermination. I'm like, Drax got this. She loves the torture shit. Like, let's do it. So I decided to wait on the other side of the curtain. So I wasn't seeing anything, right? Okay. And I'm sitting there in my director's chair, just kind of like do on my phone, looking around. And then they're like, they start, and it sounded like hell ripped open, and there was like 50 machine guns. It was like,
I will say, I maybe overdid it with how many paintball guns there were.
What, you don't think that the entire squadron?
No, it was a rain of death. Like seriously, I can't even describe it.
They were like, we're at the shooting range. They were like checking their sights and everything. I was like, oh, they're serious.
Yeah, they've got war paint on. It's suddenly someone's got a big lash. I'm like, okay.
Well, I also didn't think about it. I'm like, okay, I'll let the crew do this. It'll be fun. Now, if you're a crew on the Boulet Brothers Dragula, you would love to shoot the competitors with paintball.
Oh yeah, by that point in the season. Mm-hmm.
I just didn't know. Because I thought we did too few when we did it in season 2.
Sure.
So I was like, okay, we have to do more, but maybe we didn't need like 20. But
right.
Well, the technology is really different too. Like season 2 was
poof, a little burst. Yeah.
Poof. And these things are like souped up, high speed, rapid fire, like automatic. Yeah.
Semi-automatic. And when I first said, okay, action, and the garage door came up, and when they first started shooting, some of the cardboard boxes just got shot in half.
I love it. My favorite thing about the cardboard, I was not expecting this, but I'm like, is this cardboard box moving? And then the fucking, it's Yuri. And I was like, oh my God, this is so good. Wow.
Super fun. Something else that was super fun, like this death scene could potentially be like my favorite of the season. It's definitely one of my favorites of all time.
Oh yeah.
Yuri's death is so good. And it's Drax's debut in the death scene.
Yay!
Yeah, I had a lot to do with that one. And I was like, this is, again, episode 9 into the season. I am like brain dead. And at the time, I was like, this is going to be awesome. And then halfway through it, I'm like,
Is this going to be awesome?
Oh my God.
But I was like, I actually love the way it turned out.
Yeah.
It kind of feels wrong in that like Dragula season 2 kind of way.
Oh, 100%. It's awesome. I'm going to mirror your sentiments, one. It's one of my favorites. And it feels weird to be like, oh, this is my favorite, considering the way that it's presented versus all the other death scenes. But it's definitely up there in my favorites because it just keeps going and going. And then we're in the car. And then the sun is up. We're at the airport. And then we're checking it. I was like, oh my God. Like, I was like, oh,
we took it all the way there.
You took it all the way there. And then the plane all the way down.
So for me, the top 3 death scenes of the season, oh God, there's 4. I mean, that's like half the cast.
Yeah.
I'll say it anyway. Severity, Aurora, Jaharia, and Yuri. I thought those death scenes were great.
Yeah, I do too. I think so too. Pies, it was interesting. Like the way that we did that, I really didn't know who was going to go home. So I was like, when they were done, I was like, I need you guys to go back in the freezer. And they were like, for what? And I'm like, no, and so we kind of did special effects makeup on them to look like they were covered in ice and all that stuff. And I think it turned out really well, but we just didn't know who it was going to be at the time. So both of them actually have that death scene.
We are going to take our second break of this episode, and we shall return. All right, my darlings, we have returned, and it's time to answer some of your listener questions. Ian, would you do the honors?
Ooh, loading lobby. Ooh, failure skill check. Ooh, alert the killer to where your exact location is. Ooh, you lose the match for your team. Everyone flags you in your DMs. Ooh.
Ian, as a video game girly, the loading lobby is your new home base.
Yes! And let me tell you, that lobby got loaded back in the day, honey.
More than Pi did in the Frankenhooker challenge.
Cole writes, this election has seemed harder than the last, and I find myself lashing out at friends who either didn't vote or voted for Trump. My question is this. How do you all have these conversations with loved ones and not get so quick to anger? I want to be better, but it's hard because I think my friends don't love me and see me as lesser because they support Trump and it angers me.
Well, okay, couple of things there that you said. The one thing is, how do you have these conversations? You don't have to. You don't have to. If someone's just pig-headed and annoying and they won't sort of meet you halfway, they're not worth your time to talk to. If someone's open to your perspective and in return, you should be open to theirs as well, you may actually get somewhere and learn that you have more in common than not. But as far as assuming that them voting for Trump means they don't value you, I would disagree with that. I think for a lot of people, it did not come into their minds what was actually at stake. I don't think a lot of people are informed. I don't think a lot of people read. And I don't think a lot of people know what actually was being represented by both of these candidates.
I really respect that. And I think you're giving grace to a lot of people. However, I'm not always that big. I say lean into your anger. It's validating. It is validated. If you're pissed, let your father know, let your siblings know, let whoever it is in your family that's saying like, well, I did this and I did that. Let them know what it means to you, because like Drax said, they may not be thinking about how this could affect some of your rights or your well-being or your just living in this country and not being scared. So put them on blast.
Here's the thing. The only people that benefit from a dictator are people that are extremely rich. Everybody else will suffer. And I think the people that voted for Trump are going to have their own disappointments and experiences with how the things they voted for and didn't realize it are going to affect them. Like, wait until they cut Social Security,
I hope it doesn't happen. It will be an expensive lesson, a costly lesson for everyone.
Sean from Philly asks, One question. Why pie?
Why did we choose Pie to go home?
Is that the
instead of
question?
Antie? Yeah.
That's the less shady question.
I love Pie's drag. I think Pie is super innovative, and I always really lean towards someone who thinks outside the box, and I think Pie does that. In a straightforward kind of way, though, when you look at what Antie brings to the table, I just felt like she was showing up a little bit more and earned her spot in the top 3.
Yeah, it was very close. I mean, to me, Pie brought really interesting drag, brought a lot of variety in the drag, brought a new vibe to the show that I don't think anyone's had before. They were also not afraid to speak their mind and play the game and interact with everybody. So Pie was a fantastic cast member this year. But yeah, I think in the scoring for that episode, Antie just eked above, I think.
Yeah, and in the middle of Pie's delusional rant, she did say that. She did say, well, I take risks. I'm not afraid to take risks, and I really respect that,
It's
too.
true.
Totally.
She's right.
Eli from Fort Lauderdale writes, every episode, I'm left wondering, how do you test the exterminations for safety?
We don't.
What are you talking about, honey?
So usually crew members do the extermination. Ian would do them in the past.
We've done a bunch of them, too.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think they are scary. They maybe look a little more scary than they actually are, but that's TV magic, right? You know? So has anyone ever almost died? No. Everyone's always like, oh my God, how do you guys do all this stuff? And I'm like, okay, maybe we need to pull back a little bit on the editing.
You're like, oh, that sound effect is crazy. Yeah, I have always felt like that question, and no shade to Eli from Fort Lauderdale, but I've always been like, what, Mama, it's like, for this extermination, you'll be juggling knives on fire,
right,
naked, covered in oil. I'm like, there's never really been one that I'm like, someone has the capacity to get gravely injured in this.
Yeah. Even the piercing. This is it's skin surface stuff. It's gross. It's scary, but it's not gonna kill you.
Alex writes, thoughts on episode 8 and episode 9 getting posted on Prime early. We constantly have this issue of one of the streamers posting it early. How do we fix this issue?
Girl, when you figure it out, let me know.
Send your email.
It is a network thing. It's a network thing. That's all I can say. We finish the episodes, we turn them in, and the network, especially now, they have their own unique set of challenges because a lot of times the show goes through a network. So like you could watch it on Shudder, you could watch it on AMC Plus, you could watch it on the Shudder channel on Amazon, or buy it from iTunes and download it from Shudder. There's so many different ways that you can buy it. And when bigger platforms like Amazon adds an ad tier, for example, you have to resubmit all your stuff with commercial breaks built into it, which, by the way, that's what those black void moments are in the episodes that you guys are seeing. Those are ad spots that are not within our control.
Yeah. And this stuff happens on other shows too. It's just frustrating as the creators, and we chased this one down the rabbit hole as far as possible, and we got the simple answer of, this was human error. This was a middle person delivery to the network where they messed up, and that's what it was.
I mean, it's such a small percentage of people that know. It's like when that happened, nobody knew about it. It was like a 3% of the fans or the fan base knew about it. So it sucks, but it's not that big of a deal. You kind of have to roll with the punches.
I feel like, and this is just my little piece of advice, don't have to take it, but as someone who used to be, and still is, I mean, I am obsessed with the Boulet Brothers Dragula. Like, don't get me wrong, like, this is my favorite show. But I don't go on Reddit. I do not go on Twitter. I don't follow anything related to the show. And so I get to live in this sort of bubble where the only people I talk to about the show really are the two of y'all. And I'm like, this is amazing. That's awesome.
That's a great perspective.
I don't get spoiled. It's like nothing ever happens. And I have other media properties that I am obsessed in the way where, like, I'm on Reddit. I'm looking into the forums. I know everything, all the details about this game that I play or whatever. And that is a dangerous poison sometimes, because it's like you go from being a super fan to you almost poison your own well sometimes by being that involved.
Absolutely.
Take a step back.
Yeah, I agree.
Enjoy. Jody from the UK writes, we've seen competitors nope out of an extermination before. Once they are in, do they get a safe word or anything so that they can get out if it's too much? Or are they locked in once they agree to go ahead?
Anybody can get out at any point. We would never be like, you said you're going to do it, so we're not going to open this cage.
Wow. Well,
yeah. So no, yeah, they can get out whenever they want. I don't think anybody wants to.
Yeah. As crazy as it might look, as if they're some kind of like victims in like a torture scenario, the truth is like we're all communicating throughout the whole experience. And if someone was like in distress, like Violencia was, frankly, the only person who opted out of an extermination in 7 seasons of the show, all she had to do was talk to us about it. And we encouraged her. I'm like, you may regret this, but at the end of the day, it's her call. No one is interested in coercing someone to doing something they don't want to do.
Yeah.
And that's that.
Sean from Philly writes, oh, apparently they did a second question. I was wondering, where did you get those riddles for the exterminations? Also, would you sell the Flash on Dragula.com? Because I want to get a tattoo from the extermination this season and of all the seasons past.
Oh my God.
Wow.
I think we should post them free to download.
Yeah, that's really
good.
Yeah, that's really cute.
We'll do it. Don't look for it until like February because I'm not doing anything else this year. But we can deal with it then.
And to answer your other question, I not only have a crystal ball, I also have the book of riddles because I researched all those riddles and I was trying to balance like what would be gettable or what is more difficult or what is too difficult and like how can you do it when you're put on the spot. So I just did a little research and made the call.
Leah asks, for your families outside of the Dragula multiverse, do they have their own watch parties for the Boulet Brothers Dragula?
Well, our chosen family does.
Certainly.
Right? So we have a group of dark-sided elites that we watch the episode with.
Yes,
it's very fun. Like real, very serious horror creators and stars. And we all get together every week and watch the episode. And it's really flattering and fun to do. So that, yeah, they support us in that way. It's very, we started doing that last year, I think. And, it was nice to see the different perspective because before that we would be very inundated with the fans' perspective, quote fans or just people online,
Perspective.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was very nice to find this new group who's now into it. And yeah. All right, everybody, that's it for this episode of the Boulet Brothers Creatures of the Night post-mortem recap. Make sure you watch the finale of the Boulet Brothers Dragula Season 6 on Monday night.
That sounds so crazy.
I'm going to say it better be Monday night and not Monday morning or Sunday.
Yeah. Seriously.
Anyways, everyone, make sure you watch and then join us for our final recap episode of the year. And make sure you send your questions to creatures@bouletbrothersdragula.com.
The Boulet Brothers Creatures of the Night is hosted and produced by Mortem and Swantula Boulet, along with co-host Ian DeVogler, with music by Neuron Spector.